Okay, here's some of the instructions off of that M8 motor I just did. So this is some stuff that we didn't really go over very much while I was working on the motor, but this is kind of important stuff. Be nice to know about for some people. So we used a total seal not gap, but they're gas ported rings or high-end rings. So we got the instructions here, which pertain to just about all your different rings. So if you read all this stuff right here, I don't know if you can see that well to read all that, but this is kind of semi-important information. So anyway, there you go. You can read that a little bit or slow the camera down or your video feed. So these are your different type of rings right here. Your top ring style and your second ring style right there. And this talks about your clearances up inside the ring groove in your piston. This is the orientation of assembly the rings on your pistons, what they recommend. I don't quite do it that way, but it's close enough what you need. Now over here is very important your crosshatch angle in your cylinder when you hone it. So that is very important. Now I vary this depending on application. On a higher RPM short stroke motor you flatten it out a little bit. On a lower RPM long stroke motor you widen it out a little bit. This has to do with how quickly the oil will get up your cylinder, because of the hallmarks is with basic oil control channels. They let oil go up past your piston up inside your motor and lubricate your rings, and your piston's going up and down your cylinder. If you run a lot of alcohol in there or nitro, that's really a basic cleaning solvent. You need coarser finish and steeper angles, especially the long stroke motor. That way when the motor, it's all about how long it takes for the oil to get up to the top of the cylinder before the piston goes back down. So when your piston speed's really high, you need a more direct path to get it up in there. When you got lower speed, piston speed, even though it's a higher RPM motor like a jet bike motor would be, it's a little bit flatter angles. So it makes a difference. And your grit changes also. So they talk about the grit finish up here. So they're running relatively coarse grits these days because that gives you more bite to hold the oil basically. So these are used cylinders, you can't see that. These ones were not been honed yet, I don't think. Got some residue in here. Turn the light on. So see this crosshatch pattern here. So you look at the angle it's at right there. You can see how it's almost 90 degrees, which means it's like this almost. It's just below. That's like a 100-degree angle, which is very, very steep. So that is easy. You're going to have oil control issues. See, they want you to have a lot flatter angle here than that. So when you look at it, you can see how steep it is. So that's bad. That is going to cause some oiling. But on a low RPM tractor motor that's just putting along at under 3,000 RPM most of the life, that actually isn't that bad because that lets the oil get up in there where it's needed. So it's like everything, its oil changes. Now these vertical grooving like this is not good for oil control. It's a direct path to let oil come right past your motor and burn in your combustion chamber. That's why this motor is junk. So you want to see a crosshatch pattern like that. So that's the difference. And under here, you can see how it's more worn. It's hard to see the grooviness, but you got thick grooves in there too. So anyway, what the cylinders look like tell you a lot about how the motor was taken care of and how it's run. So basically, these crosshatch angles make a difference. Like I said, I will vary these a little bit, but it's all by application. And when you run a finer a cast iron ring or something like that, a multi-face ring, you can drop your grit finish into the 380s instead of being these coarse 280 numbers like they're using here. This is a performance ring manufacturer, so they're figuring that you're going to abuse the piss out of your motor. That's why they got coarser finishes. More oil means you can beat on it harder. Alright, so that's kind of important there. So these are your different rings. So that ring set on the M8 motor we just did, that big one, it was a barrel faced like that, and then had the Napier ring, which is like that. It's got like a hook on it. it's like a squeegee, a windshield squeegee. It squeegees oil off the cylinder. So that's what that one was. Now, I did not recall seeing that ring having the cut on the top here, which makes it a twist ring, torsional twist. I don't remember seeing that. I thought they were pretty square cut. Anyway, these are the rings that came out of the bike, so yep. Blow that up. What do you see? Let's get some light on it. So that's the design of that ring. So this is the top ring, it looks like. Alright, so that's all important things. The other thing they talked about in here was over here. Never use piston ring pliers. Do not ever wrap your ring around your piston. Wrapping a ring around the piston means when you install it, you start right here and go around like that all the way around and wrap it on your piston. What that does, it bends the rings so it turns into a big spring. It'll stay like that basically on your motor, and that will cause oil control problems and cylinder pressure problems, because the ring wants to be, you need the ring to sit flat to seal. The piston ring, the cylinder pressure pushes down on the ring and seals against the bottom groove of the piston. That's how it works. Now if you got the spring built, you got a bit like this where it's got a gap under it, you can't build up pressure because it blows out and it doesn't work very well. So light helps on that or not. So if you got a big spring like this, it'll never seal. Same thing with a real rough finish on your ring grooves. A bunch of scratches and stuff like that. Sandblasted ring grooves is not very good. Things like that are bad on it, and they don't seal. So you have to have enough pressure going past the ring to finally collapse it all the way down. And once it collapses down, boom, then you got ring seal. But until that happens, you got a lot of blow-by in your motor, blowing out your tailpipe, or not your tailpipe, out your engine breather. Out the tailpipe's what you want, not out the engine breather. So that's why you never wrap rings. Now to stop from, to use the piston ring expander, they give you a part number here for a Hastings ring tool, right there. I have one of those I bought somewhere, I can't find it. I use this kind of a tool here, which is a snap ring plier tool, and you just go in there like this, and you expand the ring out like that, and you put it over your piston. When you go back down, it closes. And I always use my fingers to help push it around. But you don't want to be bending the ring. They're very important. The ring is flat. So that's what they talk about on this one here, which if you want to read that one, you can read that one too. So it works better blowing up like that with light on it. So that's that one. The other thing we got a lot on that piston was on that motor was the ring end gaps. So this here all talks about that quite a bit. And so this is all important stuff. So this here is the numbers that we choose from, depending on application. If you want just an SAA recommended number, that's over here. So you can look at what bore you have through here, and there's your ring gap over here. So on a street motor, this will get you pretty good because the SAE is for a street application, not racing. If it's racing, you put it on the higher end, not the lower end. The hotter the motor gets, the more ring gap you get. So if you got a commuter motor that's stuck in traffic all the time and you're burning your motor up, you don't want thin rings like that, gaps, you want fat gaps, because it's just like a race motor. The heat in the ring, all that surface area right there, as it heats up, it expands. So the bigger the bore, the more it expands, and also the hotter it gets, no matter what the bore, it expands. So that's why you have different ring gaps. When the ring gaps butt together from heat, when they go solid like this, then the ring buckles up and all the air blows past it. So you got blow-by, it doesn't work. And the other problem is it locks up in the cylinder, and then instead of sliding real nice and free with spring pressure, it goes rock hard and it puts tons of pressure on the ring surface, and it'll start gouging your cylinders like this here. It starts making deep grooving like this, because now it's just scraping across the surface and not sliding across like it should. So that's why you want to have ring gap. And it gets so much pressure in there it can actually break the piston ring lands, which is the gap between the piston rings on your piston. It'll actually break it right off the piston. So That's a common problem too on cast pistons that have no clearance. So that's all important now. So when you go into your gap over here, I didn't read this over here. This is probably really not that important on this side. Just in case you want to look at it, there you go. You can read it, figure out what it says. So that's all that stuff. Okay, now over here is your ring gap recommendations. So depending on what your application is here, these are your recommended ring gaps over here. So all your nitro motors run lots of gap. Your serious boost motors run lots of gap, because once again you got a lot of heat. So you can see they get pretty high up in here. When you're down here on your street motor way down here, you can see how the gaps are more like the SAE number that was on the other side. So these are all important. I'll blow it up even bigger, maybe it'll help you. So it's better to be loose than tight. So when you look at how long this ring is, it's like 9 inches long or 10 inches if you calculate it out. And do you think an extra 5 thou ring gap is going to kill you? I don't think so. So that's all that's to do with the ring gaps. Next thing was on the Cometic gaskets. On the M8 bore, you have two different style motors. You got oil cooled and water cooled. So coolant is water and oil is oil. So this one talks about when you're at between a 4 1/4 inch bore or smaller, it doesn't really matter what the pockets look like in here, which is these pockets right over here. So that makes no difference, I guess. But when you get to the big motor, 4 1/2 inch, 4 1/4 bigger bore, you have to go to the oval style ports and then weld up one of the holes, I guess. This hole right here probably gets in the way, so you need to weld it up. You go over here to the outside edge. So that makes a difference. Now I'm not sure between the front and rear gasket, because I've never seen a difference between the front and the rear. So I don't know why it matters how they're doing this, because one side the pockets are, the embossments are raised up and the other one they're not. This is both have the same looking triangle shape, so I don't know if there's different in length. They look like they go up the same height to me, so I don't see a difference. Maybe it has something to do with the rivets getting in the way and it's causing a problem there. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't see a difference in the front and the rear. But there is definitely a difference down here on between the oil holes and stuff. Now the cylinder we use are solid, so we don't have to worry about oil return. Is the only we care about, so I don't think it really matters on those gaskets. But we got to make sure his heads are actually welded up so that these holes, they won't leak out the side. It will not leak into the motor, but it might leak out. So we mocked it up and didn't finish the motor. So well, I didn't finish it. He's putting it together himself. So that's stuff he has to look at. And if you want to look at how the recommended torque pattern is for an M8, it's right there. They talk about it. Where you loosen the head bolts, you tighten the head bolts down once, then you loosen them, then you tighten them again a little bit, and then you torque the shit out of them with going 90 degrees. So we don't do that because we're doing different stuff. So now every time you pre-torque a bolt, the first time you torque a bolt, it'll give you one torque. When you let go and torque it again, it'll go further around the circle because it's all stretching. After you do that about 3 times, it kind of stabilizes. So one of the tricks you do on race motors is you use used hardware that's already pre-stretched, or you pre-stretch your new stuff by torquing down 2 or 3 times. Or you got to come back and re-torque it after it's run a little bit, after heat cycles. So those are things you got to do too. So these are all different things you do on different applications. So anyway, there you go, a bunch of information. We didn't have time to go over that when we did the video, but hopefully that will help you. So there you go.